We don't ever find the time. We set aside time for learning in our busy schedule, and then we learn stuff. Either we're going to put this thing into our calendars or we're not going to learn it. So everything I don't know today is because it's never found a spot in my calendar. So yeah.
This episode of Systems with Laura is brought to you by Proprium, business workflow and automation agency. If you're building a service-based business and you're overwhelmed by operations, automations, or choosing the right tools, this is exactly what Proprium helps with. Proprium builds systems that help you save time, reduce repetitive work, and scale without chaos. Learn more at proprium.agency. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Systems with Laura, the podcast where we go behind the scenes of the smartest systems, smoothest operations, and most intentional businesses. I'm your host, Laura, and today's episode is going to be a powerhouse because my guest today is Višnja Željeznjak, a Croatian entrepreneur, B2B digital marketing expert, educator, and the co-founder of both Logit and Edusa Hire, a platform empowering educators to grow thriving businesses through strategic branding, marketing, and software. But here's what makes Vishnya's story really special. She's not just a marketing strategist. She's a systems thinker, a business backend builder, and someone who literally helped launch Croatia into space. Yes, we'll talk about CroCube, the country's first satellite, and how her crowdfunding strategy helped make it happen. We'll dive into the processes, systems, and software Višnja uses to run her business, her evolution as an entrepreneur, and how she overcame her fear of video to now post multiple live video podcasts and educate thousands. So whether you're building a service-based business or dreaming up your next big idea, this episode will show you what's possible when you think strategically, build strong operational foundations, and commit to lifelong learning. So I want to welcome Višnja. Welcome to Systems with Laura.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you for joining. And as I told you before the show, you're my role model in podcasting, so I'm a little bit nervous. So I kind of butchered your company's name. If you can please pronounce it correctly and help me if I misspoke on anything there. And if you can, introduce yourself to the audience in a way that you would want to tell them about yourself.
No problem. Let's start with my first name for everyone, especially outside Croatia. So I am Višnja Željeznjak, and I come from Edusa, a platform, business education platform. This is my main business today. My company name, Logit Internet Services, is not important anymore because it's just a company name today. Everything is focused on Edusa and on growing Edusa, which is a software platform that helps knowledge workers and anybody who wants to make a living based on their intellectual knowledge. It's a platform that helps them thrive, that helps them promote themselves and build their personal brand. So basically, Edusa all the way.
So I can also attest to that because I'm one of the educators on the platform, and Edusa connected me to audience that I would never find myself for sure, and it helped me grow as an entrepreneur. And I have to say that working with you and all the educators on the Edusa membership kind of pushed me also into podcasting faster and into hosting my own YouTube. So it's not just an educational platform. It's also, I would say, a community of educators. So if you are an educator in Croatia, I think that Edusa membership is also something that can help you very much. So let's dive into that first. Basically, how did you come up with that idea? And I remember the LinkedIn post about the napkin, and I would love for you to say that to our audience and how it's became.
Yes, let's rewind to 2020 during the pandemic. It was April. It was the age of lockdowns, and I was desperate because 3 months before I was adamant that I'm going to offer in-house education. Back then, I was teaching B2B digital marketing. I was providing B2B digital marketing strategy services, and I wanted to teach entrepreneurs locally here in Rijeka, Croatia, about B2B digital marketing. So when we were shut down overnight, I had to find another way to my customers. And one day, it was April 2020. I was desperate, lying on the couch, watching to news headlines, and just an idea popped into my mind. Maybe I could do it online now that everybody seems to be embracing Zoom and digital conferencing platforms. So I literally took out my tablet. I have a pen on my tablet, and I drew a plan for what is today Edusa. I call it my digital napkin. So it was the first version. I called it the digital no, online education catalog. It was that's how I called it back then, and this is how I wrote it down. This is the first sketch I created together with my business partner, Sasha Matjasic. We started, we discussed it over a couple of days and weeks, and we said, what the heck? Let's do something. It's not like we have orders and customers anymore because all our customers were practically on pause. Everybody remembers that time. So we had some time to develop something new. I envisioned it to become a database of online education on everything that anybody in Croatia offers and teaches, to have it on our platform. And this is how we started. Of course, our idea evolved over time. Today, we are not only a software platform that helps you present your education program, but it's more than that. It's a media platform with podcasts and articles and community that has grown from those first roots, that helps anybody who wants to teach to have a safety net, to have like-minded people who have already gone through the first basic problems in their businesses, and also to have support by somebody who's versed in digital, in technology, in digital marketing, and that was our team from Edusa.
What are you the most proud of in all of these years that Edusa exists? And did you imagine it to look like it does today?
I imagined it. I don't know what I imagined it back then, but of course I did it not because we thought it was hard. We thought it was easy. That's why we created it. I thought it was going to be easy. But it wasn't that easy as I first imagined it. So I would say that my biggest proud moment is that I'm here today, that I have absolutely fantastic customers who are really the kind of people you would only wish to have around you. So I managed to live my values, to communicate our values to the market, and to be surrounded with great people. This is my biggest accomplishment. One of the things I'm also proud is that me and my partner Sasha, we were running two service businesses in parallel. So let's call it the first the company, our consultancy. We had to continue creating and offering services to our legacy customers from the first 20 years of our entrepreneurial journey. And in parallel with that, we had to build Edusa. So Edusa is not just a software company; it's a lot of services involved, a lot of media involved. So we had to balance between two service companies that are very customer intensive, and the fact that we made it, that we have gradually lowered our intensity in our main business. so that Edusa can live. This was very hard. This is a process that usually lasts a couple of years. It's still not over. I call it something like dialysis. It's like entering new blood into the system while keeping the organism alive and letting the old blood get out naturally in a natural flow without anybody getting hurt. I've never done this before, and this is probably this is what I'm most proud of, that we have managed to go through that process.
So that probably takes a lot of systems, processes, mapping out everything that you do, communication with the team. Could you give us a parallel of how it looks to just run Logit and then run Edusa with Logit parallel and now just Edusa? How did that evolution happen? And your whole entrepreneurship journey, that's 2+ decades. So there's a lot of wisdom there. What did you learn with all of that, and how did you feel now after, this is much more standardized in a way that you wanted it to be?
Yeah, so our first business is basically what used to be building websites, building e-commerce systems, providing digital marketing, digital advertising to customers, and digital strategy. So this is what we've been doing for the first 20 years of our career. And we've built a certain set of systems that supported that old job: selling a website, creating a website development project, supporting the customers throughout this entire journey. We've set up processes and protocols that we were used to. Of course, it took us a whole number of years to set that up. With tools, with people, with protocols, paperwork, everything. So it wasn't easy to do that, but when we started building Edusa, which is a software platform, which is a product, it's a hybrid product plus services business. So we had to unlearn all the old stuff. We had to create new systems. For example, it's very different to build a website for a customer and build a website for yourself and build a software product on top of the website for yourself. The processes are different because when you deliver a website for a customer, it's always something custom. You deliver it once. It's easier to, provide custom or bespoke code to customer because it's not going to, affect anybody else. But when you're building a software product, anything you build today is going to affect everything you're going to do tomorrow and in 2 years' time. So we had to learn how to set up new kinds of systems between the two of us. It's only 2 of us in the company. We used to be a bigger agency 10 or 15 years ago. But how to build everything that 2 people can sustain, that 2 people can build, and how to build everything so that we can invite freelancers, virtual assistants, outside help. So it was very slow in the beginning. So I had to first learn what the new systems are. I had to learn it on paper. I had to go through everything myself, write everything, record everything, work with my partner who is a software developer to create features, to develop the product. So I had to do it myself, everything, so that I could teach others how to do it themselves. And later, when AI came to the scene, I had to teach AI plus other people, virtual assistants who work with AI, how to produce stuff in our company. So maybe the biggest advantage was that I was always a systems person. I would say that I'm naturally lazy in a good way. I hate repeating myself. And when I have to do something the 3rd or the 4th time, I give up and I sit down and I spend 1 hour to save 10 seconds a day of my time. And of course, when it all adds up with time. So I don't know hopefully I've answered your question.
You have, and I can relate because I do the same. And then I a little bit get, lost in the rabbit hole that I find, and then I discover a new system, and that's basically how I got to what I do. So I fully understand that. I also think that people who are naturally lazy and also have intelligence are the best kind of solution makers, because we want it faster and we can see the pattern in a way, and then we figure it out. So you mentioned a lot of things in this description basically, and from what I hear is these are completely two different sets of systems that you needed to run a consultancy versus to run a software company. First thing that comes to mind is how different was it for you to have an agency with 10 people and now to work with freelancers and VAs? How is that dynamic different, and how did you previously kind of plan the work of the team, and how do you do that now?
Okay, so the most the most important difference is that when we were running a website building agency, work found us and we didn't have to find work ourselves. It was the age when everybody wanted a website. We were early in the game. We started in 2002. Sorry, 2002. So it was 23 years ago. And we positioned ourselves well on Google. So, people found us. When work comes to you, when you don't have to do active sales, I would say that that marketing and sales is kind of runs itself on autopilot. We basically set it up once. We started Google Ads as soon as we could in 2004, and those ads brought enough work so that I could focus on project management, on building the websites right, on hiring people. And I was so bad at that, Laura. I was very young, and of course, I didn't have any experience in how to talk to people. It's not like I don't know how to talk to people, but it's different when you're speaking to, I don't know, a partner, family member, or a customer, versus people who are supposed to do work for you and you are paying them salary. I was the kind of person that used to bark orders, which is not good for business, and that kind of work cost me a lot. I would do it all over again today. I'm much let's call it. I'm much more attuned to the needs of people. I'm different. My attitude toward myself is different today. I cut myself some slack, so I learned how to cut other people slack, and I don't think anymore that business is the centerpiece of my life. At some point, I switched to living my life and having my business wrap around it. When I was running an agency, it was the exact opposite, and it wasn't good for business because my health was suffering. I wasn't the best of the bosses in the world, but throughout the years, I learned how I could do better. So when I take that experience, the agency, running the systems in an agency, and when I think of how we do it today, it's much more relaxed. There are no deadlines like it used to be before. It's not like we don't have them, but we relax them a little bit because we're building the software for ourselves. So it's not like somebody's waiting for me, when is that feature coming out? Of course, people would love them. I would love them to be launched, but it's not like having customers waiting for a website launch. So it's a different kind of business. It's a different business model, and when you're building the software for yourself, you get to have a better relationship with virtual assistants. You have more time for meetings. I always hated meetings, but now I have 2 bi-weekly meetings with my VA, And when I did that, when I introduced that on top of all the automation and software we already have, I have found that this human connection is actually driving everything. Without it, stuff tends to fall apart. So I would say automation plus regular human conversations is how I prefer to run my business today.
I can definitely relate on the young entrepreneur barking orders. I feel that when you're an entrepreneur and when you're young and when you don't have that experience, you're so caught up. This is the most important thing in your life. You are basically in that. And I learned the hard way also. So I definitely relate. And I thought the busier I am, the bigger value I have as a person. I was so caught up in the busy equals I am doing it really good. I am this, the best person in the world because I don't sleep. I'm not, tracking my health. I don't do, anything like that. So I learned the hard way also. I will probably repeat the same lesson a few more times because entrepreneurs. But I do feel that that's a crucial lesson and that kind of drives the flexibility of my business also. And I feel that the more tools and the more software that we start having, just like you, the more we will be able to be human and kind to each other and flexible and have the tools help us and not replace us, just like everybody's kind of afraid with AI. I really feel that AI sped up my business at least 3 years plus, if not even more. If not even just speeding it up, it gave me this ease of mind because I can double check stuff that I'm working on since I'm not a native speaker and things like that. So when was that click for you when you realized I will not let my business run my life and I am not the same as my business?
We had a crisis at some point, like 13 years ago. I felt like I have built myself. I have built a prison for myself. So when you have a job and you work for somebody else, you can always quit. But when you have your own company, it's a wall around you that's running you. And at some point, I felt like I was suffocating within within the walls I have built for myself by myself. It was a crisis when I had to let some people go, when I had to actually, literally fire them. And those people were so good. They were quality people. Some of them were our personal friends. And this is the time when I decided, okay, this was painful. Luckily, we have managed to stay in great relations with those people. So I have learned a lesson. I will not hopefully repeat it in the future, and I have options. I have not built a prison for myself. It's a prison with paper thin walls, and I'm not constrained by the current situation. Our situation at the time was that we had some issues in business, and we were either going to let people go or we're going to fall ourselves. So of course, naturally, we're here. So of course, we survived that shock. But if I had if I had an attitude that that I don't have options, and one of the options was to let people go, if I didn't give myself that option, I would not be here to talk to you, and there would be no Edusa. I would never have been a business digital marketing consultant, anything. So this is the time when I have, sat with myself, wrote a lot in my journal, and discovered that, business is not, I'm not my business. I will not be defined by anything that happens in my business, because today you have a great month or great day, and tomorrow is going to be completely different. And I knew that I was always going to be okay, because I realized I have so many internal resources. No matter what I try, how bad the day is, tomorrow I know I can, even if I dug myself into the hole myself, I can always stop digging and dig myself out of it. So this is what I did, and this is when it clicked that business is here to support me. I am not here to be run by my business.
I definitely agree with that. And I always say if I have to, pivot to cleaning offices or anything that I can do really fast, I would without a doubt. And I think that being an entrepreneur is something that you can become, but I feel that it's like a calling and you can try to say no, but you're kind of, you know, and you said something that kind of struck with me in the beginning when you were explaining how Edusa came to be. And I think you said something along the lines that you started it because you thought it was going to be easy and now you realize it's not. I feel that's how we all kind of jump into business and then you're like, oh, no, this is horrible, but I love it at the same time. What's wrong with me? So how do you define entrepreneurship for yourself, and could you imagine yourself doing anything else, or no?
I have a story I tell myself, but I have relaxed that story a little bit because I need options. So I think I'm unemployable because I've been employed by other people for 6 whole months. It was a great experience. It was in 2003 when I was a student. I was working on a team that had been translating Microsoft Office to Croatian, one of the first versions that actually came to the shelves. I was very proud of that work, and it was I would, if all the jobs in the world were like that, it would be great. But I have experienced that I'm always, how shall I put it? I'm not the person that tolerates authority easily. I always have my own ideas, and I have seen at that job that those ideas can actually make me get promoted, become a better status in the team, which actually happened in those short 6 months. I was loud, so I got additional responsibilities and I liked it. But I always imagined, oh my God, what if I was to be working in a team that has people that suck, with bosses that suck? I would be like the new generation, the alphas and the Z generation that quits the next day. I would be like that. I always tell myself that story, but of course, it's the worst case scenario: bad bosses, bad companies. I like my freedom. I have given my choice, if I wanted to get a job, get a boss, become somebody's, I don't know, outsourcer, other people's partner. So entrepreneurship is not the only option in this world. If I had to do it, if I had to do something else, I would do anything for this company right now, even getting a job to make it live. Because I have talked to a lot of people who have done this, not because their businesses were not running well, but because they were running too well, and they either burned out or had a personal issue. They couldn't keep up with the company, and they had to get a job. And their companies survived because of that. So I give myself options. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't like authority. I never imagine myself going to a 9 to 5. But when I choose to work for myself, it's usually 9 to 5.
I agree, and I said that to someone similarly the other day, that I don't think I'm employable either. But if I were to work for somebody, I think I would be the best employee because I would know where the limits are between like management, and that you can't literally kind of influence everything. The company is not always at fault. There are so many economic situations that really do happen, and all of the capitalism kind of prejudices and stuff like that happen in minds of people. So that's one side of it. I also feel like just putting me in a 8-hour work box, let's say, would stifle my creativity, because the best work is done when you leave your desk, when you do some other stuff. And just like you said, this is a game for me in a way. Of course, it's my livelihood. I take it seriously. I take my team seriously. But at the end of the day, it's okay, this is not working. We'll try something else. We have a new idea. Let's test that. Let's do this in 5 years, maybe potentially, because the things that you kind of come up with, you can have like a drawer of ideas, basically, like you have the digital napkin. So does that make you happy? What sparks your passion and curiosity the most?
I would say I thrive on podcasts and books. Those are two main sources of inspiration. I've been reading books since for my own pleasure since I finished university. So when I read the books and when I implement the knowledge and whatever I found in those books, and when I let it simmer, and when I talk to people on my podcasts, on when I listen to other people's podcasts, I have started to realize that those dots are now connecting in new and completely unforeseen ways. And it took me years to get that feeling, to have the fruits of my intellectual labor, so to speak. So after reading hundreds of books and listening to also hundreds and hundreds of podcasts, and also having um, so many people on my own podcasts, they are they are creating a new kind of signal that gives me ideas. And I would say when I connect that with my own journaling, I journal a lot. I'm always scribbling and always having a pen, an actual pen and paper. I have found out that sometimes I take those ideas from my guests, from other podcasts, from books. When I journal them, it usually takes me a year, a full year, for certain ideas to come to fruition so that they become products, features on Edusa, new projects, new experiments. Um, I know because I am rereading my old journal entries, and when I read them, I take note of the date when I first, like, oh, look, I had an idea 3 years ago. Oh, look, and then it took me a year to realize it. It needs to simmer in me. Of course, not all ideas are like that, but I would say that I like slow reading. I like audio. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I listen more than I read today because my eyesight is not as brilliant as it used to be. So, yeah, those are my biggest sources of inspiration today.
I think it's very interesting that you enjoy podcasts and you enjoy the live shows, because I remember in one of your LinkedIn posts, and I'm also not just a collaborator, I'm a huge fan. And for years, I've been bookmarking your posts when I was reading, because you always do offer so many useful, concrete steps. It's not just, I found this tool, it's always, here's how I use it. And I really love that. So whoever is listening to us, I encourage them to follow you on LinkedIn. And I remember that you mentioned that you once had a very strong fear of video, basically. So you now run multiple live podcasts, you are a speaker. What kind of helped you overcome that? And do you still have stage fright, or is that occasional? How do you work with those fears?
Okay, so you cannot see or find a video of me before 2020. That's almost a given. If there's a video of me, somebody else recorded it, and I was very grumpy while they were recording it. I didn't like having my face on the camera, and it's not like I was, preparing myself for that. I was not going on a boot camp. Now I'm going to get rid of this fear because I want to have a podcast. I want to have a live stream. None of that. It just appeared as a thought in my head one day, which said, maybe you should start video. Maybe you should try live streaming. I don't know why this came to me. Maybe all those dots were connecting inside of me in some way. But this is not the first time this happened to me. I never liked running, like running physical activity. And one day, 11 years ago, when I was in bad health, one day after I spent my whole entire life hating running, an idea popped into my head. Maybe you should try running. I was excited by it, and when those two things connected, excitement and fear, I knew I was onto something. So this is some kind of pattern recognition system in humans. We all know when something is good for us, and when I have that excitement plus fear combination, I know it's the right thing to do, because this is the next step of my personal evolution. So this is how I started. I stumbled on software that gave me live streaming capabilities, which is Restream, which you use now at the moment, which I've been using for years. And they offered me some kind of discount, told me 20% off if you register. I'm going to register. Why not? And this is how I started. But stage fright and everything that comes with it did not go away. Not in the first episode, not on the second. Somewhere around episode 7, it went away, and I was able to, come to my office, press go live, and be myself. I got used to my voice. I'm not one of those people that hate their voices anymore. This also goes away after episode 6. I guarantee to anybody that they will get used to their voice. And anytime I go live, so there's no more stage fright, but anytime there's something different, either a new kind of setup or a new hardware that I'm still not, completely familiar with, or I go live in person, I feel the same old stage fright because it's something different. So, but that's also good, because this is another rung on my, in my evolution, another step in my business journey.
I have to add, if anybody's listening from Restream, we have 2 podcasts that would love a sponsorship. We're not gonna say no. So definitely we both use it. I love the software. You probably get asked this a lot, and I know that you work with educators on helping them overcome this. So based on how you overcame your fear when you realized it's more excitement than fear, what kind of advice would you maybe give to people who are afraid of visibility, or not being ready yet, or being too public, or, if I can use semi-Croatian, if they're afraid of people judging them that they iskaču iz paštete everywhere, how would you kind of help them with that?
I would say I'm actually not the best type of person to give advice on that, because I figured out my fear. I don't know how I figured it out. I don't know how I overcame it. I prefer when people come to me, they actually find me when they are ready. But there is a good advice, and that is to do one small step. So if you're afraid of camera, if you're afraid that you're going to, I don't know, fail or be laughed at or something, you can always take out your phone. You can always record a private video. You don't have to do anything with it. Just record it, have it sit on your digital shelf, and maybe create a vlogging experiment. Experiment is the right word. So create a little trial that you're going to record yourself for 30 days straight. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to like it. Give yourself enough time. Give yourself an hour for a minute of a video, and see how it sits with you. See how it feels inside. And sit with yourself and cut yourself some slack the first couple of takes, the first couple of videos, because you can't be great in the first couple of tries. You won't be great in the first 20. But if you give yourself, the permission to suck at a new thing, because we suck at everything new that we try, maybe you become one of us who started a podcast because we love it. We absolutely love it. You can't, I fear that somebody's going to take away YouTube and camera from me. So this is my fear today, that I won't be able to record. Maybe you like it, but you have to give yourself a permission to try and to experiment. I call it regular experimentation. This is a muscle that I believe entrepreneurs do not exercise regularly. I believe we should experiment more, and that we should have like an hour in our week just for that, just for experiment.
I feel that entrepreneurship is more about the mindset and working on yourself than it is about, business strategies and systems and all of that. I really feel that it's the limit of your own prejudice, fears, toxic thoughts, everything that you have that you don't work through, that kind of makes your business drown, I would say. How do you process that?
We are, they say that we fall to the level of our systems. And I believe that we rise to the level of our ambitions and discipline. During my entire career, I have watched myself procrastinate, get frustrated, provide bad service because I was like this. And I have realized that the only thing I need to do today to succeed, of course, having an idea, having a path in front of me, is to do boring things every day and not give up. This is such this this sounds like common knowledge, like common sense. Get up, go to your office, do the work, and repeat it for 10 years. But repeating something for 10 years and then being, the overnight success in only 10 years, and nobody sees the past 10 years, that's the hard part. And certain entrepreneurs that I watch today, that I follow, I have started, like I said, the dots are connecting. They all say the same thing. Just persist. Just find something that works and do it. Just do it, like the old meme. Do it. It's so funny how we're unable to follow that one simple thing. Like being in the first grade in the elementary school, they gave us pencils, a paper, and they told us to write letter A the entire day. Letter A the entire day. And we're unable to do this today because we're all over the place. I believe the next skill for success is going to be the ability to shut everything, all the distractions off, and just focus on what's working today.
So opposite of multitasking, like we were being told to, and I fully agree with that. I think it's challenging because not every day is the same. And with the entrepreneurship, you have so many dips in income, in motivation, in challenges, especially when you have a team. People don't understand some things. Other people in the team are doing extraordinary work. There's so many things that I feel when you start your day, everything kind of pulls you to this side, that side, this side, that side. And the biggest kind of muscle that I'm still building, I'm not there yet, but is the fact that I can put my focus mode on my iPhone, just do my work, put my time blocks, and to stop feeling guilty for it. Because in the beginning, I felt like, oh, they're helping me. I should talk to them. I should do this. I should do that. I feel that with learning how to put boundaries, you're able to do what you described and then basically go from there. It's very visible when you're talking to entrepreneurs who is calm and who feels, their presence is collected. That person is usually the most successful person in the room. And it doesn't have to be measured in income. It can just be measured in like fulfillment and happiness of their work. And whoever is the biggest, busiest, stressed personality is usually the person with the lowest possibility of having a successful business. And from my experience, they usually, shut down after a while. How do you maybe, see that when you're talking to people in your podcast? What did you learn from people? What is the pattern that you've noticed with guests and the biggest lessons maybe that you encountered?
My customers are mostly, not all of them, but they're people with a lot of experience, like 20, 30 years in business or in entrepreneurship. And I would say that they are struggling with the basic stuff because they are experts, and they have realized that basic knowledge in their respective niches have to be repeated over and over and over again. A lot of customers, a lot of entrepreneurs say, I thought that I wouldn't have to repeat this anymore, that's common knowledge, but it's not. Because every day somebody new comes to the scene. Not everybody has the same level of knowledge, and to create a market for yourself, you have to speak to everybody, to companies and to customers who are ready to buy, who know everything, who just need the work done. But you have to speak, you have to keep filling the, we marketers call it the top of the funnel. So we have to keep educating and communicating to people who don't know what we have learned 20 years ago. So many of my customers are struggling with being there for people who are absolute beginners, and they need those people because they are their future customers. And this is for solopreneurs, for small companies, this is a huge obstacle, I would say, and huge challenge, because you don't have enough resources to communicate with everybody on the market. So we basically usually decide to communicate with whoever's ready to buy today. But in order to build ourselves a big business, one that's going to recognize us as the solution, as somebody to work with in the future, we have to be able to wait like years for those new customers to become not only aware, but educated enough and ready to buy. Being in B2B, I love B2B. I don't like B2C much. I don't know why. I always loved working with companies because I've spent my entire life working with companies. But in B2B, sales cycles are so long. And I have built patience from that. This is something that's not natural to me. I'm naturally an impatient person, but I have seen that the best companies, the best entrepreneurs I work with today, the most successful are patient, are compassionate, and are ready to educate their market. This is, of course, running an education platform. Of course, I have a bias. I'm only surrounded with people who are like that. But this is what I said in the beginning. I love my customers. It wasn't always like this. But I'm so blessed with having so many good people who are I'm resonating with them because we think in the same way. So yeah, those are some patterns. The curse of knowledge and patience to be there for new customers when they have to be taught something basic.
I can give an example of team. I've had a lot of team members in the last 7 years, and I've always found it very interesting how the same task that we do, different person always discovers some new way to do it that never would have even crossed my mind. And first few times I honestly was annoyed because, it's a simple task. How did you not know? It was common sense, just like you said. But at the end of the day, I realized that if I want something to stay the way I want it to stay, I need to give them a recipe immediately. And if I really want them to bring value with a new, fresh pair of eyes that are not stuck with the knowledge that we have, basically they need to do it from the beginning, and then we can see what we can reuse and what we can add to our process. So I do feel that when people say common sense, where is it in a situation, that screams to me, you need a protocol for this. This is not something that you need to reinvent the wheel every time you do. For example, I remember one of the topics that you had it was either a workshop or a live podcast about preparing for a workshop. basically. That's not something you need to reinvent the wheel every time. It's pretty clear, equipment, internet, testing stuff, your own checklist, your own presentation, maybe printed out, all of those things that you just have to look and cross off, basically. So I would even tie that with the way that you changed your offering. You were offering bespoke service, and now you are offering something that's a productized service. So with Edusa being a strong example of a platform that blends software, systems, and community, how did you kind of create that productized service? Because there is not many things that you need to add into the offer. You have the packages, it's very straightforward. How different was that for you, and how did you come up with all of those packages?
So it was necessity, because first we ran some numbers after offering our plans, our membership plans, for a couple of years. We ran the numbers and we saw that we were not profitable with those numbers. So the necessity made us, draw the line, calculate what are we doing in this service, what are we providing, what the customers want, what do other people say we are good at, what are we unable to deliver, no matter how much we want it. There are certain things that we are still unable to do because of the market. We're not the only factor in this market. So when we collected all those factors in one place, we decided that we need to create something that's repeatable, something that is not that should not be customized for everybody, for every customer. When I say we can have a personalized and customized approach to everybody, we can talk to people, we can draw the need of our customers for individual support based on other things, and not from customizing every little feature, every little podcast that we have. So we had to standardize. It was common sense to take what's working, to attach a profitable price to it, and to keep providing it in the same way, so that we could also provide a repeatable customer experience. So this has been good for us. This has been good for customers. We have changed our marketing communication at some point, and we're focusing on what other people told us that we're doing great, and that's providing visibility and branding opportunities for experts. And we have decided, okay, let's, for now in 2025, let's focus on what's working. I have already mentioned that it's important to focus on what's working. Let's focus on that. Let's be the best at that that we can be with current resources that we have, and everything else we can either save for later, when our team is bigger, when we have more resources. And it's not easy to run a platform business. It's one of the most complex business models there is, because we have so many different types of customers. All kinds of things have to come together for the whole to be to work. We needed to standardize everything, and with that came the systems, came the procedures, repeatable processes, to the level that for example, I no longer have to check everything when I go live. So going live and having a live video podcast, has a lot of moving parts, so to speak. But now that I can rely on our system, that my virtual assistant runs herself, I can rely on her, that I basically have to talk to the guest when I have guests, that I have to come up with a title for the show, and that I have to, appear on the date and time when we're going live. Everything else is based on a system that's repeatable and that actually works. So systems are the way we are able to make it work today.
Systems give a lot of freedom and the ability for you to focus on what you are kind of the best at, and that would be the host basically, and there's no need to have all of those moving parts every time repeated. You also, with running Edusa, you kind of have an insight into backend processes, I would even say, from every educator on the platform in a way, since this is also a community, so there are conversations, there are meetups. I'm wondering, what have you learned about the business backend needs of the educators that are trying to productize their knowledge?
Okay, I have learned that everybody's battling some kind of technical battle with something, with some kind of software, some kind of hardware. I'm a nerd. I have learned that stuff like many moons ago, so I'm able to provide technical assistance with that. But this is just one part of the story: how to make technology work. Another thing that everybody and almost all people that are part of our Edusa community are mostly solopreneurs, consultants, educators. They work either by themselves alone, or maybe they have a partner in their company, but none of them that I can imagine have a big company, with a huge team. Um, they have they would love to have better sales systems, not just software, but they need sales support, because there always comes a time when you just need a sales push for that new business education program that you have just come up with, and you're not, as a solopreneur, you're not able to do it yourself unless you put everything aside and you focus on selling that stuff today for the next month or two. This is very draining, because entrepreneurs don't just run their education programs. They have speaking engagements, consulting gigs, they have their own legacy projects that they have to run, and all sorts of things. So I would say sales is always an obstacle. Nobody can have enough sales or too much sales, too many sold tickets. That's not a thing. So they tell me, "Oh, I would love it if somebody would, sell that stuff for me, so I would just pay them commission." We all would, but unfortunately, that's not how stuff works. Although I want to be open-minded, and I would say, if there's a need on the market, maybe somebody will fulfill that need. It's not us. We're not a platform that offers, commission-based sales, because we do not see ourselves as that kind of business. We provide marketing support for customers, but sales is always some area that new services, new offerings need to, somebody needs to provide them. So a combination between sales, having enough time to be visible, and to juggle all those marketing balls simultaneously in the air. That's very hard. Like you said, we're all entrepreneurs. We manage several things at once, and in all that chaos, you need to, stay profitable, stay visible, create great experience for your students, and a myriad other things.
I think that Edusa's live shows tie into the visibility and sales indirectly, because you provide visibility to the educators to be seen and presented as experts. And not only that, since LinkedIn is the biggest business platform, I've noticed that also helps them get booked, get known. So what is your experience with LinkedIn? Because I know you are a power user. What are some of the tips that you can maybe provide to educators or any entrepreneur that's listening to us? And did you get any, I would say, sales through LinkedIn? How did LinkedIn help your business? I have to say, I noticed that you comment a lot, you use it properly. So what would be your advice there?
My best advice today is not to rely on comments and posts solely, but to hit the DMs. So that's what I've been doing lately, since regularly. This is the boring stuff that I have to get up every morning and do every morning for the next 10 years. I talk to people. I introduce myself. I find somebody who's interesting, people who have followed our page or have followed me personally. I just introduce myself and offer not my assistance, but to just say I'm here. I love to chat. I love to provide some links or knowledge, or maybe connect people with people that need to know them. So that's what I do on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the place that actually gave. Without LinkedIn, the way I've been building it, there would be no Edusa. I have maybe built like 90% of everything over LinkedIn, because this is where my target this is where everybody is. It's the digital conference or meetup that runs 24/7. So of course I have to be there. I would say that people are not using LinkedIn to its fullest extent because they are afraid that they're going to, be boring to somebody, that they will bore other people if they introduce themselves directly. When I say introduce ourselves, get to know people, network digitally. I'm not saying that you should, slide into somebody's DMs and start selling. No. When you introduce yourself to 100 people, 5 of them will tell you, oh my God, I've been following you for 2 years. You have the best posts. I've been meaning to contact you and you beat me to it. So it's just a numbers game. I'm in sales. I've been in sales my whole career. I've been selling websites, selling marketing consulting. Now I'm selling our promotional packages. So out of 100 people, 5 will always be interested in what you're offering. Of course, if you weren't like quiet on LinkedIn. I post a lot, I comment a lot, I socialize a lot. And when I approach people, 5 out of 100 will always tell me, oh my God, I was just thinking of you. Are you reading my mind? So yeah, that's the power of digital networking. It's just a numbers game that is working in your favor if you are willing to play that game.
I definitely agree, and I really feel that it's a matter of assumptions in a way, because people assume that they won't get, their message won't get received as well and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, everybody on LinkedIn is also a person behind the screen, just like you. And if you do send a message, you will get either a response, but rarely someone will be rude. I mean, that's the whole point of them having a profile there. They are basically there to network, and even if they are not that extroverted or ready for conversations like that, you're basically helping them, because like you said, somebody will always say, I wanted to reach out, but they didn't know how. So you just opened that door faster, basically.
Yeah. Let me just use one example so that people know what they can expect. When you said people, we are all afraid that people are going to be rude. I have connected with hundreds, literally hundreds of people in the past couple of months. I didn't get one rude response. One person offered to answer my question if I paid them. That was the rudest response I got, and they were very friendly. Very friendly. So that's like LinkedIn is a place where people moderate themselves as well, because this is a place of business. So out of all, I call them old networks, LinkedIn is the best in that regard.
I love that example, and I feel that people really are open about talking about what they do. It's just a matter of how you approach them, because I sometimes I get requests for connection and somebody's selling in the connection message already. That's not the way to approach somebody. Don't try that. The old salesperson going from door to door selling, Hoovers and Bibles and stuff like that. That's not what works today. It's relationships. And at the end of the day, I've noticed that maybe sometimes some people don't become my clients, but I get referrals from them just because we had a pleasant conversation. They mentioned my work to somebody else and then we connect. So I think that's also a very smart thing to do. If not just that, like, you can learn so much and you can test your market just by conversation. you can really hear about their pain points and you can get an idea for a product. It doesn't really have to be a sales conversation. It's just a relationship between people, I would say.
Absolutely. And of course, sometimes you need to buy something, and it's good to know people too.
I definitely agree. So I'm gonna switch us to AI. Basically, I know that you test a lot of AIs, that you know a lot about AI. So I'm wondering, how do you see integrating AI into Edusa maybe, or your own work as an educator? Do you think that AI is a threat or an opportunity? What is your favorite AI basically? Also, yeah.
Okay, let's start with threats and friend or foe. I'm optimistic as a person, optimistic person. So I tend to fall on the more cautiously optimistic side of AI. I believe that AIs as we have them today, for example, large language models like ChatGPT and others, they are already replacing a lot of educational work, a lot of work that education professionals do, but in the boring parts, in the lecturing part, in the research and information gathering part, in creating quizzes, in doing presentations. I call that the boring part. The interesting part of our work of people who teach for a living is when you help other person create a meaningful change in their lives, in their businesses. And this is an area where people will probably mostly prefer to work with other people, because we don't enjoy software as much. It's not like I can commit to software that I'm going to create, that I'm going to do my homework, or that I'm going to complete an assignment. I have had task lists my entire career, and I have always abused them. I have never committed to them because it's just software. So AI can pose as an accountability body, but we're not going to respect it. We're going to respect other people we look up to. So I believe that the best trainers are going to get even better. The best educators are going to have even more space in their future to work with. That's the best part of the AI. How are you looking to integrate AI into Edusa? So one of the biggest problems I have identified in business space is that companies and their employees and also entrepreneurs, they have problems, all sorts of problems in their businesses, in their careers, but they can't always identify which of those problems are solvable by more skills, more education, even more information. Sometimes people just suffer through problems, and because we're so overwhelmed with everything, we don't look for solutions. I see AI as a part of the future Edusa that helps anybody describe their problem and get a solution that's in the domain of education, of training, of news, of upskilling or reskilling. So basically, you would come to Edusa and you would say, "Look, I'm having a problem with, I don't know, I'm swamped with work. What can you do for me?" And an AI would talk to you, would analyze your needs, would analyze our internal database of proprietary content, and we could provide our AI, Edusa AI, could provide not solutions but suggestions. Maybe you can try this. AI can ask you 10 questions and tell you, okay, based on your answers, we believe that you can solve part of your problem with new skills. These are the skills you need. This is the best educator to try because they have, I don't know, special experience. They are in your niche. They have special tools they work with, something like that. So, of course, we have been thinking about integrating AI since day one. Since it appeared on the scene, but it's not as easy to actually do it. It's hard, it's tough, because we expect AI to do the work of a human, at the level of a human, and we have seen a lot of examples where AI is still failing us. So yeah, it's going to become a tool, but let's see what the future brings.
I love the description related to, finding the best educator for you just by, knowing your problem. I think it's also the style of educator. Do you prefer like individual consulting or education, or do you want to work in a group? Do you want to be in person, or do you prefer online? I do feel that's also something that can be easier. We'll even have like the communication style. Maybe you prefer straightforward communication or tough love approach, or things like that. And then you can also choose the person that kind of works best. I think that's pretty good for the future. And I do fully agree. I don't think AI is going to replace us. I think it's going to just make our lives easier. And that people were a little bit in this situation when TV appeared, radio appeared, electricity appeared, and that didn't stop us from doing anything. We just improved our lives. I do feel that humans thrive in creativity and in creating things and in solving problems, and that mundane stuff that we can automate and change will put us in a place where we discover more things that we even imagined to kind of be available to us, just like we did with this technology that we had. So I'm wondering, how do you see entrepreneurs or educators that are not part of a community like this adapting to that on their own? What would you envision for them?
So I believe that, of course, it's a new technology. It's not as easy as, just learn how to Google. There are a couple of switches, couple of parameters. You can, learn it in 10 minutes. But AI is much more complex. It's going to pervade and invade everything we use today. All the tools, all the devices, everything's going to be AI powered, and it's not something that you can easily learn and without trying stuff. So when I went on my personal AI journey, I used YouTube, and I bought one of those AIs. Yeah, I use Claude. I love Claude because it generates the best text, and I just played with it. I watched the tutorial. I saw something that I liked that I could use in my business, and I tried it out. It's tens and tens of hours of my own time, of course, after hours, my free time. So if people want to know what they will be capable in the future, they need to know the capabilities. So getting yourself ready to at least understand what AI is capable of, that's the first step. We need to learn this. So I see that entrepreneurs are either overly optimistic, so they exaggerate what AI can do, and they are they are always disappointed when they try AI. They thought that they could do everything, and then they learned that there are limitations to the technology. So the overly exaggerated features need to be put in check. But also, if you are completely oblivious to that, you can automate whatever you do daily, that you can stop producing those files, that you don't need to copy paste as much. We need to know the little things that we can do every day and replace with AI. This thing needs learning. We need time. And we don't ever, Laura, probably yourself, we don't ever find the time. We set aside time for learning in our busy schedule, and then we learn stuff. Either we're going to put this thing,
play with it a little bit, and then come back to something else because I want to learn, and I know I won't know anything really fast. So either go on Edusa and find a workshop that already exists that you can attend. So you do book a time in calendar. That's my also a little bit of a trick for myself, or just book a time in your calendar when you can. Even those 15-minute gaps between meetings, you don't have anything to lose if you just play around it in an app, or you go on YouTube, or you listen to an audiobook about something while you're folding laundry. So we can maximize our efficiency with those little tricks, and then learn more, basically. How do you kind of assess ChatGPT versus Claude? Even though you just said that you prefer Claude better, what is your comparison there? And is there a third party that maybe you think kind of is showing them competition right now?
Okay. Before I answer that question, I'm just going to add another pro tip. If you want to learn AI in your industry, try teaching it to your colleagues. It does wonders for your knowledge. I'm just going to leave it out there. So Claude versus ChatGPT versus other contenders. I like Claude because it simply generates better content that I have less work in post-production, in post-generation. After Claude is done with content, it takes me less time to bring it to the level that I'm satisfied with. So I don't use it for creative writing at all. I'm using it for I don't know, podcast announcements and stuff. So it's something that's repeatable, that has a system and templates behind it. And when I was tweaking it, I always got better results with Claude compared to ChatGPT. I'm just, when you take up a tool, you just get used to it. You no longer look at the other guys as much. So of course, I use ChatGPT because I teach ChatGPT to my audience. So I have to know the basics. I like a lot of things because they are still number one. They have the most tools. They have introduced search the first. They have introduced visuals the first. But I stuck with Claude because we are very text heavy and we keep using it. And I like one thing I like about Claude is that I have integration with Google Docs, and I store prompts that are part of my AI projects in Google Drive, so I can collaborate with my colleague. That's a little trick that you have to have you have to have that more expensive subscription to work in a team. But I'm able, because of the Google Docs integration, which I started using with Claude first. I like that little thing that I can actually collaborate on prompts and share it with my team. So that's one thing. Other AI tools you ask about, I like, and actually I love it by now. That's Google's Notebook LM. They have created a really good, not just text generator, but audio podcasts. I have listened to a book summary the other day. Notebook LM can create an audio podcast that simulates a conversation between a man and a woman. And my God, in English, it sounds awesome. I could not believe it. I didn't have the time to read a book excerpt I wanted to read. So I created a podcast out of that content. And I just, when I had the time, I listened to it. It's amazing. It's amazing, and it helps me research videos I don't have the time to watch. So if I have like 10 hours of video I absolutely have to watch, no, I just put it into Notebook LM and let it create a summary out of transcripts. So yeah, Claude, and I like Perplexity. I use all the deep research tools across all those tools, and of course Claude for everyday use.
I just want to add for ChatGPT's defense that I do also prefer Claude, honestly, but ChatGPT recognizes patterns and memorizes things about you better. And there is a trend now going on Instagram and TikTok with prompts where you ask ChatGPT about what did you notice about me that I don't know? And I would definitely recommend people to put that there, because I had a therapy moment with ChatGPT based on that. I was like, whoa. So it's a little bit scary at the same time, but it's also very helpful because it kind of judges you based on your prompts, but not in a human judging way, it kind of helps you move there. I've also noticed that it generates better personal life suggestions for schedules, for exercise, for diet, anything like that. You can't replace that from an expert for sure, but something to maybe start with is also helpful.
Yeah, let me mention one honorable mention among the AIs is I recently I started chatting with Gemini, the live voice chat. I have it on my personal Google account. I don't have it in my business workspace account because businesses always get the best features last. But I have also had a therapy moment with with Gemini's voice. I talked to it. And I talked to it about stuff I didn't know the answer to, and it actually gave me a quite usable response that I'm using today. So, Gemini voice, yeah.
I need to test that out. I'm also very happy that very early release of ChatGPT, when this started in 2022, 2023, 2022. I remember first 2 or 3 months when I was using it, you could already speak Croatian to it, and it really understood most of the things. So I'm really happy that it's rolled out globally. And I remember in the earlier days when it was just Windows 95 and you had Windows XP after that and all of that, I learned English because there was no alternative. And I can't look at my computer with Croatian translation. I know you said you worked on the interface there to translate it. I'm sorry to say that your effort didn't work with me, but I'm pretty sure that people appreciated it. I just can't look at my computer without it being in English. It's just a little bit.
Me neither. I don't use the Croatian translation. All my software is in English. Everything on my phone, on my computer. Yeah, I'm just can't. I don't like translations.
I love our language, but I do feel that English flows better. It's much more easier on the sentence forming, just like you see me doing now. Completely bad, but yeah. So AI aside, business aside, there is one really interesting project that you did, and I want us to talk a little bit about that. We have to talk about CroCube. Now that we mentioned Croatia, we mentioned endless possibilities. I think that space is something that we should switch to. So you led the crowdfunding campaign that helped launch Croatia's first satellite. So what was that experience like, and what are the systems behind that?
Okay, so I was part of the team that launched CroCube, the first Croatian satellite into space. We have launched on my birthday, which was December 21st, 2024. It was the launch day, and it was long awaited. The way we made it happen, I was a very small part. I was part of the team that worked on the crowdfunding campaign. This is how we initially started gathering the funds for the launch. So the experience and the systems. So I would say that this is one of those projects because it was volunteer led. It wasn't. There were no big companies or big organizations behind that. It was pure grassroots volunteer project led by Daniela Jovic, who is the heart and soul of the entire mission. Without her, Croatia would not have anything in space, but we now have a small satellite, 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. It's been in the orbit for 142 days on today's date. So that project was very tough because there were so many obstacles that the team needed to overcome. For example, people don't think about what do you need to launch a little cube into space. There's so much paperwork that need to be signed by official government agencies that need to give you permission to launch stuff into space. You can't just, catapult stuff into space and not having it registered in all the national and international organizations that deal with that stuff. So so the team was pretty, I would say, small. It was like 20 to 30 volunteers. I was the head of the crowdfunding campaign. We did not collect all the money we needed. I have to say that because we it was simply too big of a task. But we got a lot of donations in hardware, in services. We got some corporate sponsors, and our mission captain Daniela Jovic and her team, her core team, were very busy doing that. Systems were it's very hard to to run a project that will last for a couple of years, um, that needs to get funded to buy a ticket on a SpaceX rocket, with all the other companies involved that get your satellite onto that rocket. There's a whole range of companies you need to, sign contracts with to get that stuff into space. So I would say that it was. It's a volunteer project that was really had that was led by the grand vision to have that thing launched whenever it happens. So we kind of dealt with we dealt with it day by day. You cannot always count on people's resources, because when CroCube was started, the mission captain, she didn't know if she was going to have all the people available to her all the time. So it took a while to get all the moving parts together. I would say the biggest system was led by was the vision, and the sheer will to launch something and to become one of the 80 companies 80 countries that have the satellite in space. So Croatia is one of the last in Europe that didn't have anything. So I won't say there were big systems, but let's say what infrastructure we had at our disposal. So we had meetings, like monthly meetings. There were events that were scheduled and organized regularly. Those events are still going today. For example, exhibitions in the Nikola Tesla Museum in Zagreb, all kinds of festivities related to space, lots of educational workshops. All those things are still going on and were being organized in the last couple of years. We used Slack for communication. We used Google Drive to share files, to collaborate with each other, and of course, lots and lots of video conferences where we discussed issues as they arise. I can't say that, of course, when you launch the second satellite, if you launched the second satellite, you would be much smarter because you would know what to do. But systems were loose, and despite that, Daniela and her team managed to get that thing into space.
That's a really historical moment and very, I think, proud achievement on your side and on the team side. And that's expected, that basically systems would be loose the first time. I always have a rule that when I'm working with any business and we're working on their systems, they have to be at least 3 years old, for example, just because of that reason. Because you don't know what your systems are until you repeat it a few times. Basically, that's the whole goal of everything. So I'm really happy that it went over the way it did, and I think that saying that we have a satellite in space is really a proud moment for the whole country. Basically.
Yeah, it is a big thing, because the road is now paved for anybody who wants to venture out, and all the contracts with HACOM and regulatory agencies are signed. Everything that you need to have is assigned, and all that work will, will fade with history. Nobody will know how much work actually there is on launching anything into space. But the main thing is that it's there, and that it's a great foundation for new companies to build. We now see the new geopolitical situation. You can see that Europe has now awakened to the fact that we don't have anything in space for military purposes, for defense purposes. We have outsourced that to the Americans, and we now have to build this entire capability as a continent ourselves. So I believe this will drive new business, and finally Croatia will have something to say in that.
I love how you also use the opportunity to mention tools when you were describing that. So I'm wondering, what are the tools that you use in your own business, and that you can recommend to the audience?
Okay, let me remember what it's on my list to pay every month. Yeah, okay. I'm on Google Workspace. So Google's infrastructure is our platform for the last 16 years, and I'm not proud to say that we are depending on it, but we are depending on it. There's Notion, which is the heart of our social media content production. The entire process has been set up very well, I have to say it, and I'm very happy with how it all works in Notion. So I am able to share stuff with outside people, with virtual assistants, and everybody else who needs to, get plugged into our system. This is where we produce social media posts, where I can review posts before they get out and are being published on LinkedIn, on YouTube, etc. I use the script for video editing, for transcripts, and for lots of AI work. For example, for generating table of contents and chapters on YouTube. It's absolutely pulling its weight in as whatever we paid. It's $30 a month, so it's worth the money. We use HubSpot. This is we've been using it for a couple of years, but we've been a paid member for a couple of months, and this is something that enables us to share support inbox. It's very important that I'm not the only one that talks to customers. That if a bus runs me over, that somebody else can pick up my slack and keep working. So I'm not the only person in the company to do stuff. That's very important for me. What is important? Restream for live streaming is absolutely essential and has been essential since 2020. This is the go-to software I use for video podcasting. I will continue using it for recording without going live, because other software has proven to be unreliable and unstable. And given that I'm happy to have a good relationship with team that works in Restream. Sometimes I hear about new features that are in beta. I learn about it maybe a little earlier than it's officially announced. So I know that I will be able to use Restream for years to come. What else? Yeah, that's basically that. I hope that no software is offended by me forgetting about it, although I have to pay for it. But yeah.
If today's episode makes you realize your tools are not supporting your business, Proprium builds systems in tools like Airtable, SmartSuite, ClickUp, HubSpot, Make, Zapier, and many more. Proprium's team maps your processes, builds your workflows, automates your tasks, and trains your team. If you want systems done properly, visit proprium.agency. Well, let's hope that nobody raises your bill next month. Yeah.
Yeah, Canva tried. So this is why I omitted them.
There you go. And what I like is that they then listen to their customers, which rarely happens. So I'm really happy that they did that. But yeah. I definitely.
Yeah, I like Canva, and I hope to use Canva for years to come, because they have really democratized my access to design, because I'm not a designer.
Definitely, I agree, and I think that the new features that they just shown last month are gonna be even bigger, kind of revolution, I would even say, within that industry. For we're very much close to the end of our conversation, and one of my favorite questions to always ask an experienced entrepreneur such as yourself is, if you had to do it all from scratch again, that tomorrow would be day one and you have same knowledge, same experience, but no assets, what systems would you set up first? Three systems that you think, you would set up immediately if you were to launch Edusa day one tomorrow.
Okay, three systems if I had to do it all over again. Of course, now I have AI, so it's easier with that. I would probably create. We have a lot of internal software that we created for ourselves that generates content, so that we don't have to. So we don't have to manually create content for our newsletters. So it's something that my partner Sasha has made for us, but it wasn't connected with AI. It still isn't, because we use AI separately for our internal code. I would do that maybe sooner rather than later. I would create a system that generates content, so that we can only so that the only thing we have to do is review a newsletter edition, just as a human editor, go through it, say, okay, this is good, publish it. We've spent a lot of money and human working hours publishing those newsletters. It's important to have the consistency and to have publications that people rely on, but I would do that sooner. Our own custom built software with integrated AI, by, to integrate those two things. That's one thing. I would probably, I'm trying to remember what is still eating up our time. Our time yet. Yes, I would maybe, we use a social media scheduling app, that a piece of software that publishes content on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook, the schedulers. I would love it if I had chosen a tool that has an API, so that we don't have to go there manually, click stuff, copy and paste stuff. The software doesn't have API, so we're still, creating content outside of that app and pasting it into that app. There's a bulk upload, but we're still not using it. So yeah, I would use that. Third system would be better customer communication via shared inbox. I would do that much sooner. So this is the HubSpot part that we use. HubSpot allows me to create an email address, such as, I don't know, support@domain.com. And it allows me to share that inbox with other users who are not my employees, who are my virtual assistants, freelancers, collaborators, etc. We have added that only recently, in the last couple of months, and if I had done it before, sooner, then maybe I would have taught other people how to operate those inboxes, those support channels, and maybe I would save myself some time for creative work, for creating new media. What I would not automate at all and never is the podcasting part, with the conversation part, the enjoyment of producing my live shows, because this is the place I absolutely enjoy, and everything else can be automated. Just leave my podcast to myself.
I definitely agree with that. I'm still learning. And you mentioned episode 7, that was your crucial point, and you are now in episode 7 for me.
Yay! So this is Laura, this is the time and place when everything becomes easier.
Yeah, I agree. And I love how things come full circle, if that makes sense. So I really want to thank you so much for a practical, generous, inspiring conversation, and that you were my guest in the episode 7. That really means a lot. And I want to say to the viewers, if you want to learn more about Vishnya's work, head over to edusa.hr. Check out Vishnya's podcast or follow her on LinkedIn. I'll link everything down in the show notes. And if today's episode helped you rethink your systems or inspired a new project, please leave us a review or a comment and share this episode with a fellow founder that will find it very inspiring. Until next time, keep building systems that support the business and the life that you actually want. If you enjoy conversations like this, you'll love the Proprium Digital Network. It's a community where digital service founders get tools, templates, weekly insights, and behind-the-scenes guidance on building systems the right way. If you want to stop building systems alone and start building with support, join us at proprium.agency.